Hello, welcome back to Lessons in Self-Worth. A big hello, team, friends, fellow cycle breakers. If you're in my Telegram group, today is the day that I have message saying, my gosh, I had this sudden feeling of just being like anxious and nervous and questioning, is it coffee? I love coffee. If you followed me for a long time, if you follow my social media, you'll know coffee lover over here. Is it the coffee? Because it was directly as I was halfway through a coffee. Or is it that there is lots of change at the moment? I'm moving house, moving out of London. So it could be that. I'm not sure, but that's the day that I'm recording this. It seems to have passed, and maybe it is the coffee, guys. I'm going to put a poll. I'm going to put a poll attached to this episode. Is it coffee? Do I need to give up the coffee? What's been your experience? Anyway, quick question for you. Do you ever leave a conversation and then spend the next hour or the next day or weeks replaying everything you said, picking yourself apart, picking the conversation apart, wondering if you sounded weird, too much, not enough, boring? Telling yourself, I always embarrass myself. This always happens. If you've listened to my recent episode on absolute language and thinking in these words, like always, never, everybody, then you'll probably hear what I'm talking about there. Or do you feel like someone's tone shifts slightly? Are they taking a bit longer to reply and suddenly your whole nervous system just shifts, you're triggered, you feel like you've done something wrong, even though nothing's actually been said, and you're telling yourself, everyone dislikes me, this always happens. If this sounds like you, stay tuned, because around the second half of this episode, I'm going to share some inspiration from a book that I read many moons ago. I had a coaching session recently and it reminded me of this book. I support people with their thoughts every day. And I think the conversation I've been having around the absolute thinking and the different, thoughts that we have every day and how that impacts us, I think it's brought this book or this method back into my life. So I'm going to be sharing that with you. I think that you'll find it useful. Just to give you a little bit of insight for those of you that may have heard, it's a method used by Byron Katie. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll definitely share again. I think I shared it in the Telegram group this week, but it's always good to hear this information time and time again. If you are returning to this podcast, thank you so much. I'm hoping and I'm pleased if you are getting something from this podcast. That's why I do it. If you are brand new here, welcome. This is a space for cycle breakers. That's what I've recently started calling us. The ones where we can see patterns that we're stuck in or have been stuck in. We can feel how it affects us. And we know deep down that we want something different. We want to break these cycles that maybe we can see from our childhood, from our parents, from, our 20s. If you've got that pull for more self-worth, more self-love, something bigger in your life in terms of what you want to create, more ease, then you're in the right place. Welcome. Welcome to your Cycle Breakers family. Just a quick but really important note, this podcast isn't therapy. It's my reflections, my insights. It's what I've been learning and what I'm inspired by along the way. I bring in intuitive coaching, somatic and attachment-based approaches that I've studied and been certified in, and things, that I'm reading, exploring, as well as techniques that I use and conversations that I'm having regularly. I'm a therapist and I'm a coach, and that, sort of brings in the best of both worlds, I would say. I really try to have compassion and openness and understanding for the fact that we all learn in different ways. Different approaches suit us at different times. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and let's grow together. Okay, let's get into it. Like I said, if you're in my Telegram group, you've already had this insight. There's such a small group of us over there, by the way. If you're keen to come and join, now is the time. Here, I'm going to give you more detail. So I really hope that you guys love this as well. But here is something that's so interesting. Okay. We have thousands and thousands of thoughts a day. From the moment that you go to sleep to the moment that you wake up, you are having thousands of thoughts a day. The thoughts that you're having, what's going through your mind, is impacting how you feel and what you do, the urges that you get, the reactions that you have, who you spend your time with, the decisions that you make, who we are, our identity. So look around you, because the life around you, the environment that you're in, the people that surround you, your thoughts inspire this. They are not the be all and end all. There are other parts of the cycle, but your thoughts play a key role. So don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, okay? How we think is important. And we spend most of our days on autopilot, accepting that our thoughts are facts, accepting that they are true. That is not the case. Many of our thoughts are not fact. They are not true. They are opinions. There is a whole approach within CBT that is around, our thoughts being facts versus opinion. Our thoughts are based on our experiences. They are stories, they're narratives based on your past, your fears, ideas that you have, society, what you've witnessed, how you've grown up. Say you're in a conversation and you say something to someone and the other person pauses. There is this slight pause, and maybe they're just thinking, maybe they're distracted, who knows? Maybe there's just a natural pause in this conversation, but in your body, something shifts. You're suddenly feeling like this is so awkward, and you're having the thought, I'm awkward, they don't like me, I've pushed them away. You go home and you ruminate on it, and you come up with all of the possible reasons or things this pause could mean about you, about the situation. Another example, let's say someone replies to you later than usual. Texting and messaging is such a huge trigger for so many people. So if you see yourself in this, and even the other example, trust me when I say you're not alone. I know it's cliche, but you're not alone. So let's say someone replies later than usual. And instead of just us, thinking, okay, well, maybe they're busy, maybe there's a fair reason for this, or maybe just now isn't the right time, even if there isn't a reason, your brain goes straight to, I've done something wrong. They're losing interest. That spiral, those thoughts feel very real. Okay, but what actually happened might be nothing more than a delay, a normal human moment. Your mind kind of has filled in all the blanks. And this is the shift I want for you. As a cycle breaker, this is what we need to be doing. We need to learn to separate what is actually happening from what your mind is adding on top. What is stories? What is just a narrative? What is just an idea based on your fears, based on what you're analyzing? It's not to say that none of our thoughts are true, but many of them throughout the day, throughout these situations, many of them are not. The issue is when we spiral, when we follow them, we start to feel so anxious. We start to lose ourselves. In some cases, people are unable to function, to focus, to carry on and feel the joy in the moment, to focus on your life. It steals your joy. It steals the current moment. And you become so distracted, and not to mention the physical symptoms. This is something I help with people a lot because it can feel so uncomfortable. The actual physical reaction when you find your thoughts going down these roads, and because you're taking it as fact, you are feeling it like it's fact. So this is where the book comes in. Byron Katie, so she's an American author. She teaches a self-inquiry method, and it can be used for examining kind of automatic, negative, stressful thoughts. And the idea of this method is to support you to pause and start to question whether your thoughts are actually true. Her approach is really based on this idea that much of the pain that we find ourselves in, much of the anxiety or the stress, doesn't necessarily come from what's happening or from the situation itself. It comes from the thoughts that we believe about the situation, the meanings that we make about it. So the work that Byron Katie does, it invites you to pause, to investigate your thoughts, and to become or to come off of autopilot. And that's what I'm always helping people to do, is can we become more conscious? Can we become the observer? When we can do that, that's when we can begin to zoom out, get perspective, and that's when we don't lose ourselves so much. If you're someone who acts out of character, says things, does things that you wind up regretting, this is going to give you a better shot at not falling into that place. So grab a pen and paper for this one, or write it on your phone. And these are the 4 questions you want to be asking yourself. So a good moment to ask yourself is when you notice yourself spiraling, when you notice yourself feeling triggered. The questions that Byron Katie asks is this thought true? Is this true? Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, I love this. Can I absolutely know that it's true? We need number 2, because we will often say, yes, of course it's true. Yeah, it is true because this happened and that happened in the past. And we can be really rigid with what we believe. So this really gets you to pause again and say, hold on, can I absolutely know that it's true? Number 3, how do I react? What happens when I believe this thought? And this one really gets you to reflect on how it's impacting you. What is the impact of me believing this thought? How is it impacting my reaction? So how do I react? What happens when I believe this thought? Question number 4 is to ask yourself, who would I be without this thought? How would I be feeling? How would I be showing up? What would life be like for me without this thought? Now, that might seem like a strange one, because obviously we can't just delete the thought if it's there, but it's really lovely to almost sink into this new feeling. I find that when I use the 4th question, it's almost like I feel my shoulders, go back, my head rise. It's like, this is who I would be. This is who I can be. This is who I choose to be. The aim of this, as always, as I always share, this is not about positive thinking. If positive thinking worked, we would do it all the time and we would feel better. This is really about us becoming the observer and creating a space between us and our thoughts, us and our reactions, because we want to respond from a place that we can feel proud and free, rather than automatically react in a way that doesn't feel like who we are. That's what I mean by cycle breakers. We know that inside of us, we are these people with dreams, and we want to experience healthy love, and we want to, we want to go out of our comfort zones and create a life that maybe we didn't used to think was possible for us. And questioning our thoughts is going to help us to get there. So if your thoughts are negative, if you compare yourself, label yourself, if you're making assumptions, if you're judgmental towards yourself or others, if you're constantly predicting the worst about your future, I really invite you to start questioning your thoughts instead of automatically believing them, because you're not here to be led and to react by every thought that your mind produces. You're here to learn how to see them for what they are. They are thoughts that can pass you by. They're not absolute truth. And the more that you practice zooming out and questioning your thoughts, the more you're going to come back to yourself. The more you're going to lean into self-love, and you're going to show up as the version of yourself that you already are, but you desire to be embodying. If this episode resonated with you, I would love if you subscribed, left a review, or shared it with someone who needs it. You can come and DM me and let me know if it's been helpful at all on Instagram, Carlyann_therapy. All the links for working with me, for joining the Telegram, joining my free call, the Self-Worth Reset, all of that is in the description. Come and get to know me. If you're a cycle breaker especially, I really want you to join the community. And by the way, the self-worth reset call is no pressure. It's a space to pause, let go, reconnect with self-love in a real grounded way. You can have your camera off. You don't have to engage in the chat. Obviously, you're invited to, but it's a really good place to just come in and pause and really work on your self-worth. So I'll leave you with that. Take care of yourself, and I will be back here very soon.